So if we're being honest about the Chiefs, it's just not their year. It's okay. It happens. They are, at this point, a mediocre to below average team. It's crazy to say that because 3 or 4 weeks ago, they looked like one of the best offenses in the league. But what are you going to believe? The stats or your lying eyes? What's up, everybody? Welcome to Sports Bluff. Week 11 of the NFL season is in the books, is going by just like that. And one of the most consequential weekends of the NFL season has come and gone. We're going to react to it after a small, minor hiatus, almost 2 weeks without a video. Apologies, but hey, when you don't make money doing this, life gets in the way sometimes. I was out of town, I was sick, and now we're back, hopefully pushing through the rest of the year. Glad to have you with me. Subscribe to the channel, tell your friends about it because we are giving unfiltered, honest, and fun football talk through the season. Josh Allen put on his cape today. Baker Mayfield did everything he could. Philly and Detroit had kind of a ugly game. Kansas City goes down. Denver conquers the West. We've got a lot to get into. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. We're going to start with what I had as the game of the week coming into the day, and it lived up to it. Buffalo defeating Tampa Bay 44-32. Josh Allen saying, hold on a second. Let me put on the Superman cape, take over, and absolutely dominate the second half of the football game. I've been a little on the fence about Buffalo this year just because I feel like they've had games where they look exquisite. They look amazing. And then they'll come and deliver a loss, lose to the Falcons, even the loss to the Patriots. Like they'll lose to teams they have no business losing to, and then they'll play the Chiefs and look like the best team in the league. I've been a little unsure of what to think about Buffalo because of that very reason. This game started out similar. Okay, Josh Allen had 2 ugly interceptions in the first half. Then he had the pass where he tried to throw it behind him, but it was actually a forward pass, which he did against the Chiefs last year. It's something he does from time to time. And it was starting to look shaky. It was looking like, oh, this is going to go sideways. This is that Buffalo team that doesn't have everything together. And in the second half, it just didn't matter because Josh Allen put the turnovers behind him and just took over the football game. The prompt I put was, does this make you believe in the Bills? Unsatisfactory answer is I really still don't know what to think about them because that's kind of the quintessential game to exemplify what the Buffalo Bills are this year. That if someone asked you, hey, what kind of team are the Bills this year? This is the game you would show them because for a half of football, I'm not saying it was terrible in the first half. They had their moments, but it wasn't great. You had the turnovers. It was sloppy. It looked like they were going to hang in there and probably get beat. And then the second half, they looked like they would blow any team out. And Tampa Bay tried to crawl back into it at the end, and it just didn't matter. I don't know what they'll be going forward. If they can play like they did in the second half in this game, they're a Super Bowl team, absolutely without question. If they play like they did against Kansas City, if they play like they did in the second half, they could beat anybody in the NFL. I don't know if they're good enough to beat the Pats, even in that situation, but that's what you want to be, and that's kind of the problem for Buffalo is the lack of consistency. You want Buffalo to be more consistent. You want them to not even be that great, where Josh Allen goes off for this monster game, has 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, second time in his career, I'm sure you've all heard, along with Otto Graham, who also had it. I just don't know what they're going to be going forward, and I don't know if McDermott, Allen, and the team, particularly even the defense, can find that consistency. The defense rears its ugly head again, even with the injuries. I know it seems like it's rinse and repeat every year. They gave up 32 to Tampa. Thankfully, Josh was able to counteract it, but I'm not sure how I feel about them. If I feel like, I don't think I'd put money on them to win the Super Bowl, but with Kansas City looking like they're not going to be much of a factor, this could be a year Josh Allen capitalizes on it. If this game had happened 3 weeks ago, I would be higher on Buffalo. But as we've seen Tampa Bay kind of start to slide a little, maybe not be as dominant in the NFC as I thought they would be, obviously still a contender, I think the jury's still out on Buffalo because I could easily see them going and losing to the Panthers. That's just kind of what they've been this year. I need to see these kind of performances consistently. I would even be okay with them losing games like this if they beat the Falcons. Losing the games you're supposed to win is usually a bad mark for me. Hopefully they can keep it buttoned up, because if they're rolling like this, they really can beat any team in the league. Absolutely. They're one of the best teams in the AFC when they play like this. Let's go to the other side, because I think it's interesting to talk about Tampa here. Tampa was a team I predicted to go to the Super Bowl to represent the NFC. I was a believer. I thought this was a great season for Baker. I thought they were going to put it together. I was worried about the defensive deficiencies, and clearly that's becoming an issue, but I thought they would overcome it. And early in the year, that's exactly what they were doing. They were firing on all cylinders. They looked like one of the best teams in the league, and they've kind of come back down to earth lately. They've lost, I think, 3 of their last 4, 2 of their last 3. Is it time to panic if you're Tampa Bay? I love Baker Mayfield. I love what the offense is doing, but it's clear at this point the defense kind of has become a problem. I've got a graphic I want to show you. This is just Tampa Bay's ranking, both offensively and defensively. Red's bottom 10 in the league, green is top 10. Total yards, 22nd defensively, pass yards, 27th. They're a good rush defense, 10th. Points a game allowed, 22nd. Red zone defense, 25th. EPA defensively is good, that's 9th, but that doesn't matter if you're giving up points in the red zone and still giving up all these points. Now, as you can see, offensively, they are scoring a lot of points. But when you look at those rankings, I know these don't mean everything. I know the games aren't played on paper. But when your eyes have told you that the defense has started to be an issue and the injuries, both sides of the ball have kind of mounted up, you look at this and say, I just don't know if that's a team that can win the Super Bowl. Not discounting anything they've done, not discounting how talented I think they are. But when I had the aspirations for them to win a title, I really thought they could do that this year. And you see this game that they maybe are starting to get control of, get away from them, and they just let Josh Allen go beast mode and put up 44 on them. Pair that with the fact that, Bucky Irvin's still gone, have the injuries, Mike Evans offensively, and the defense continues to struggle. This illuminates the problem. When your main worry about a team pops up in one of their biggest games of the year and kind of causes them to lose, that gives you pause on how you view them going forward. Ultimately, I don't think they're talented enough or healthy enough to overcome the defense. Before we continue with the video, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Tell your friends about it. We're trying to grow this channel. Subscribe so you feel better about your sports takes. Back to the video. I think the defense is a deficiency at this point, and they try their best to navigate it, and they overcome it a lot of times. But I don't think they're going to be able to, if we're talking about them as a legit playoff threat, a legit championship threat. Could they win a playoff game? Absolutely. I just don't think they're going to be able to manage how poorly this defense plays at times, how many points they give up at times, because then you're just constantly getting in shootouts. And despite the offense, being top 10 in points a game, they're bad in the red zone. So their scoring's usually coming from off of big plays or outside of the red zone, 25th in the red zone, both offensively and defensively. So that just shows how inconsistent they are when they get in that condensed area of the field, because that's just not the way they operate. But on both sides of the ball, it's not kind of their philosophy. It's not how they like to attack. You saw a stat in the game today that they don't have a touchdown with a tight end. They have the fewest targets to tight ends. They just don't really use them. They're not that kind of football team. I think losing Bucky Irvin kind of takes a piece of their running game, even though Tucker had an incredible game today. I don't think that's something you're going to see week in and week out. And when you have all of these things that kind of put you in this spot, Tampa's game plan kind of ends up becoming, okay, Baker, can you go save us now? If you look at a lot of their wins or a lot of their close games, even like going back to, I think it was the Texans earlier this year, they're in a precarious situation and Baker makes a big play. Baker escapes a sack that he has no business escaping. He runs around, escapes a sack, throws it 30 yards downfield and converts a third down. Or he runs for the first down, or he finds Igbuka. There's been a lot of moments this year where Baker has just somehow pulled a win out of his hat and kept the team alive. As we saw today, eventually that magic runs out. And that's kind of why I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl threat. Even though I picked them, I want them to be. Yeah, you can get it turned around, but I'm kind of at the point now, you guys might disagree. It's week 11. We're going into week 12 of the NFL season. You got what you got. I don't think anything drastic is going to be done in the building to change any team at this point. I'll talk about that more when we get into the Chiefs a little bit later in the show. this is kind of who you are. So you can mitigate your faults and try to, bring up the things you do well. And that's basic game plan of any NFL team. And the opponent's trying to do the opposite. So I think they're still a good team. I think they're going to win games. I think they're going to be in the playoffs. I just don't think this is a championship defense. And despite everyone talking about offense constantly nowadays and how much we want to see points and all of this, we've seen over and over again, you still have to have a really talented defense, if not a great defense, to win a championship. Tampa Bay is just not quite there. I think they could fix it in a year. Next year maybe so, but I would be surprised if they make a real Super Bowl run this season. In one of the biggest games of the year, the Rams defeat the Seahawks 21-19. They grab control of the NFC West, two of the best teams in the NFC, duking it out today in a game we all had circled to see where they stood up, because I think different people had different opinions on these teams. A lot of people, like myself, really loved the Rams and maybe wanted to see a little bit more from the Seahawks. Other people were all in on the Seahawks, were buying everything they saw, thought they would go in and take care of business against the Rams, especially considering how good Seattle's been on the road this year. The story of the game is Sam Darnold regressing and doing what Sam Darnold does. He throws 4 interceptions. They end up losing the game despite the defense playing terrific. The prompt I wanted to bring up, does this give you pause with Seattle? If you were believing in the Seahawks and you thought, if you were even a Seahawks fan or just a casual observer and you believed in them, thought they were a legit NFC threat, if not the best team in the NFC, does this game worry you at all? Or do you think it's kind of a one-off? For me, this is exactly what I've been worried about all season. This is why when we're talking about storylines throughout the year, when we're judging where teams stand, I always in the back of my mind think, can I see that quarterback winning a Super Bowl? Like when we're talking about teams' aspirations, especially Seattle, like obviously they have Super Bowl hopes this year. And I just can't see Sam Darnold hoisting a Lombardi trophy, at least not this year. I'm not saying things couldn't change, but I wasn't able to shake how Sam Darnold looked in those final 2 games last season when he was with the Vikings, against the Rams, against the Lions. He looked absolutely terrible in those games. And I was just of the opinion that would come out eventually. It's kind of the similar situation with Daniel Jones. It's like, I think you can cover it up to an extent. Eventually it comes out. The difference is Sam Darnold, when he doesn't have those bad games, he is fantastic. And even in those bad games like today with the 4 interceptions, he makes a lot of incredible plays. Like his natural gifts, his ability is on display constantly. You see why he's a high draft pick, a valued prospect, because he has all of the traits. The problem he has, and maybe the problem he's always had, when you pressure him, when you start to get him flustered and things start going awry, he starts to spiral. It's not quite the same situation as it is with Jared Goff, because we know Jared Goff is a very pocket quarterback. He's not mobile. So when you get pressure and you start hitting him, he falls apart. Darnold's a little bit different because he can move. He is athletic. He can move up in the pocket, outside the pocket, and make plays. I think his problem almost becomes more mental because his worst trait is holding on to the ball too long. We saw that particularly in the playoff game last season. He just wouldn't let go of the football. That started to become an issue today, especially on that final 2-minute drive where they're trying to score and win the game. Those bad habits come out when he's getting pressured, when he's getting hit, when he's not having the success he's used to having. It's like he gets in his head. We all know about the seeing ghost thing, but that's kind of been his Achilles heel. That's why I was never going to jump on board and believe he was a Super Bowl quarterback. If it had been 3 years ago when we last saw him kind of collapse, I would be more willing to let it go. But we saw it at the end of last season. I wasn't going to just put that all behind me because he was playing great with the Seahawks now. He has one bad play that leads to 2 to 3 to 4, and then you're stuck in a hole that you're trying to climb out of. Because today, he was rattled. He made a ton of mistakes. The interceptions, but besides those, the final drive, as I said, he's holding the ball too long. Seattle's red zone offense is ultimately what bit them today, because despite how bad Darnold was in the moments, particularly just the turnovers, they really were in a good position. The game shouldn't have been as close as it was with the 4 interceptions. I've got the box score here. As you can see, Seattle, more pass yards, more rush yards, way better on third down. The 4 turnovers are the issue, and right there, red zone. Seattle 1 for 4 in the red zone compared to the Rams, who were 3 for 4. When the Rams got close and had their opportunities, few and far between, though they capitalized on them. Seattle could not. Seattle all game long, despite the interceptions, were moving the football. They constantly, every time you looked up, Seattle had the ball. That's why they outgained them in time of possession by over 15 minutes. Seattle was constantly taking chunk plays, moving down the field, and then they would get to the red zone and they would stall out. And they'd have to settle for 3 or just come away with nothing. That's why 1 for 4 is not what you want. And that's what cost them the game, because the defense played well enough. We know how great this Mike Macdonald defense is. It's really fantastic. He's a great head coach. The defense kept them in this football game. They just kept making stops. They kept limiting Los Angeles, held Stafford down. Like I said, you got 130 pass yards. The defense is elite, and Seattle is a great team. But I'm not going to believe that they're a championship contender, because I obviously can't trust the quarterback in these big moments when things start to go sideways, even though your defense is delivering and having an incredible game to keep them in it. When you think about the 4 turnovers, it just shouldn't be close. Seattle shouldn't have a chance to win it at the end of the game, and they do. Seattle's driving with a chance to win. That shouldn't have been on the board the way this game was playing out. But because of the defense, it was on the board, and Darnold just ultimately couldn't make it happen, mostly because that final punt from the Rams to pin Seattle at the 1-yard line, that kind of won him the game, because without that punt, Seattle probably gets into field goal range. I thought it was a mistake from McVay to pass on that third down. I thought he should have ran it, made Seattle take their final timeout. Instead, they passed. It was incomplete. They punted it to Seattle, who had a timeout, minute 30. But because of the excellent punt, pinning him at the 1, Darnold had his work cut out from him. And at that final drive, you saw, as I mentioned, another bad habit of him holding the ball too long. Even late in that last play where he needed to get it out, get down, and get the timeout. I know no one was open, but man, he really pushed it holding the ball. So Seattle's still a really good team. They still could run the table in the NFC. It wouldn't surprise me. I can't believe that this quarterback's going to hoist a Lombardi when we see how much he breaks down once things start to go sideways. I will give him credit. In other games, like last year when it's happened, he's kind of just been terrible. In this game, he played well outside of the interceptions. Like it didn't continue to go bad every single play. You know, he would move the ball, stall out, interception. Move the ball, stall out, interception. So he didn't just give up. He didn't implode, but it's hard to overcome those interceptions. They almost did. So that just tells you how talented they are. I'm just kind of keeping a watchful eye on them, especially with the Rams taking over the NFC West. They're going to have to play again. No doubt, though, even with all that said, it sounds like I'm being super negative. Just being honest. These are 2 of the best teams in the NFL, even with the Sam Darnold regression thing, and you kind of know that's baked in at this point. But 95% of the time, he's going to be really solid. And clearly that defense is one of the best in the NFL. So they're going to carry you a long way just because of that. Okay, let's get into it. The Denver Broncos defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 22-19 to take a stranglehold on the AFC West. They are in cruise control. Denver, despite not looking great, really a lot of the times, they just keep finding ways to win. They beat Philadelphia. They beat Kansas City. They keep getting it done. They've got one of the best records in the league. They are in play for the 1 seed. I'm wondering, because I've been a Denver doubter, not just because I root for the Chiefs. The way it's looked, the limitations of Bo Nix, I know how good the defense is, but I've been skeptical. After this, I'm wondering, do I need to reassess? Have I been too skeptical? Because they just keep winning. The box score of this game's even, and the game was even for the most part, but Denver made the plays in the moments. That's really what it came down to. It came down to a couple moments where Denver executed and Kansas City simply did not. here's the box score. As you can see, pass yards pretty close, rush yards very similar, third down, red zone. You've got the one turnover for Kansas City, time of possession, almost the exact same. Despite that, when it came to those instances where you had to make a play, when Kansas City got Denver into 3rd and 15, Bo Nix made it happen. He converted. Although Bo Nix didn't really pop off, if you look at the stat sheet, it's not going to wow you. But if you watch the game, he played a really clean game, and he made a lot of big throws. He wasn't just nickel and diamond. Like, he was taking shots. They were really stretching Kansas City's defense. A couple big throws to Troy Franklin. This was, given how kind of where I evaluate Bo Nix at, because I just don't think he's a great quarterback, this is as close to a perfect game as I think he could play. And going into this, I thought the only chance for Denver to win, especially with Surtain hurt on defense, and I thought Kansas City would be far better, and we'll talk about them in a second. I thought Bo Nix would have to play a perfect game to win. And he kind of did. He did exactly what he needed to do. He executed every single time he needed to, and he's got his team in cruise control. The reason I have doubted Denver goes back to the Sam Darnold thing, is I just don't trust the quarterback in the playoffs. And I still don't, to be honest. I don't think Bo Nix is going to beat Josh Allen in a playoff game. Then again, when you have a defense this elite, because this is probably the best defense in the NFL, when your defense is this good, your quarterback doesn't have to be great. I know we all think you have to have a flashy quarterback to win Super Bowls nowadays. I don't think you can just ride it with an average quarterback. I think there will be 1 or 2 moments in the playoffs where your quarterback's going to have to make a big play if you want to win those games and get to the Super Bowl. But Bo Nix has proven he can do that. Despite all of his faults and the up and down play and frankly, just bad play he has at times, he's shown over and over again in these moments he can deliver a big play. That's why he's kind of got this mantra as a fourth quarter quarterback. That will suit him well in the playoffs, especially if the defense keeps playing like it is. And we have no reason to doubt it. Surtain wasn't even there today, and they played lights out. If the defense just continues to play at this level, Bo Nix truly just has to manage games, and they can beat anybody in the league. I mean, they've already beat Philadelphia, and they beat Kansas City. They're 9-2. Trust me, I've been a doubter all season, but at a certain point, week 11, you look up, you're 9-2, you're owning the AFC West. It's not a fluke anymore. Does that mean you're going to win it all? No, probably not. I don't think so. But it does mean you're in a really, really good situation. You're going to get some home playoff games in Denver, and you're just going to get healthier. So this is a scary team, especially as we get into January, having to go to Denver. If any AFC team has to go to Denver and play them in the playoffs against this defense, good luck, because the defense is good enough to carry them to a Super Bowl game. It just is. And I've been reluctant to acknowledge that. And maybe it just took my team getting their teeth kicked in by Denver, even though I know it was a close score, but I felt like Kansas City would take care of business considering what was on the line. And Denver just felt like the better team for 60 minutes. So props to Denver. They're legit. And that defense is going to take them a long way. As long as Bo Nix can manage the game, can play within the structure, know when he needs to make a play, when he doesn't. And if he continues to do that, Sean Payton reels him in, doesn't just cut him loose too much, because Payton does have a tendency to do that. If they can just be smart about what they're doing, their play calling, ride the defense, they can go as far as they want to, because the defense is that good. Okay, let's go to the Chiefs. 5-5. Worst record basically in the Mahomes era. The AFC West, probably out of reach at this point. Or are Kansas City's hopes of winning the division over? That's what I think everyone's going to talk about. I think you're going to see a lot of stories through the media landscape that's going to be like, can Kansas City still win the division? Is Kansas City at risk for missing the playoffs? The truth is, it doesn't really matter, because it's such a flawed football team. They're not going to do anything special, even if they do make the playoffs. And look, I know you can't count Mahomes and Andy Reid out. That's kind of been my excuse all season. But at a certain point, as I've said with all of these teams, we're 11 weeks in. This isn't week 4. You are what you are. Like, we've seen enough to know who Kansas City is at this point. It hurts me to say it, but this is just the truth. I genuinely thought Kansas City would just roll once they got their weapons back. Well, I was like, oh, they didn't have their wide receivers. Once they get them back, they'll be in good shape. They've got receivers. They've got an offensive line. It doesn't matter because they have so many other issues to overcome, or they would have to overcome so many things to be a real championship contender, to be a playoff threat. What makes you think that they're going to do that? Just say right now you can see the future. Say for sure Kansas City gets into the playoffs as a 7 seed, as a 6 seed, whatever. Okay. Do you think they're going to go to Denver and win in the playoffs this year? Or go to Buffalo? New England? Indianapolis? You think they're going to go and beat any of those teams on the road? I don't. Anything can happen in the NFL, but so many people comment too sometimes on this channel and they're like, oh, well, why don't you think that? It's going to be this way. It's going to be this way. Oh, you got to give them grace. All I ever do on this show is evaluate the information we have. I'm just looking at what we've got right now, how the teams look through 11 weeks. If the Chiefs magically fix things and get better, okay, yeah, I don't have that foresight. But the way they look now, even if they get in the playoffs, so what? They're not going to beat great teams. Just not their year. They can't even beat average teams. They've got so many issues. So I just want to take a minute. I want to break down their biggest issues just briefly, and then I want to talk about something maybe everyone is ignoring and not wanting to talk about. Firstly, just offensively, they cannot run the football. They can't. So because of that, that puts them behind the sticks all the time. They end up in 2nd and 10, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 15. Jawan Taylor lined up bad, false start, penalties, inability to run the football. You're behind the sticks. So then you have to throw it 40 times a game. And you need Mahomes to be Superman constantly. On top of that, just honestly, Mahomes hasn't been great. I thought there was a 3-week stretch a couple weeks ago where he was looking really good. Like after he got his guys back, he was rolling. But now he's not. He missed a few deep balls today. He's just been a little off. And you hit those and the game could be different. He's got so much on his plate because the defense isn't what it used to be. Even though they played good today, when you don't have a run game, it just puts so much pressure on the quarterback. And even if Pacheco had been there, I just don't think it would make much of a difference. We kind of see what Pacheco is at this point. I know he had started to look better, but with another injury, I mean, I don't expect him to come in and do anything different. Some of this is offensive philosophy, which is what I'm going to get to. Defensively, they can't stop the run. Denver was 4 yards a clip every single time, just with ease. So then the opposing team is staying on schedule, getting into 2nd and short, 3rd and short, and the playbook's open for them. Then when your defense, Kansas City, does make some plays and gets Denver into 3rd and 15, where your pass rush is non-existent, and the opposing offense takes advantage of it. So you can't stop the run and you can't rush the passer. That's an issue. And that even though the defense did good today, they gave their offense chances. That's preventing them from being a championship team. It's the two things we've been talking about all year. The offensive run game and the defensive line. And that's going to bite them because the receivers, the offensive line, they're good. And it doesn't matter because they can't overcome an inability to get pressure, especially on big plays. Like the Chiefs have always been the situational team. They might play with their food, but in a big moment, they always deliver. And in this game and this season, it's been the opposite. They're losing in the big moments. And that's kind of been their superpower. So when you take that away, what do they have? They went 3 and out on their final 2 drives. That leads me to overall the bigger problem in Kansas City. It really is the offense because it's become stagnant and the play calling is mediocre. I've talked about Green Bay on this channel and why how I think their offensive play calling is lackluster. So it's only fair to do so with the Chiefs. I just thought eventually they would figure it out or change something, and they won't. They have the O-line. They have the receivers. Their absolute refusal to run the ball under center blows my mind Because there was a couple weeks ago where they started coming out in heavy packages and going under center and running under center and doing play action off of that. And it was really successful. And then you just get away from it. And I love him to death, but that's the Andy Reid thing. He just doesn't want to do it. It's pass or it's RPO or it's inside zone. And that's basically all they run. How many times do they run inside or outside zone? I don't understand it. I don't know why they don't, with a good offensive line up under center and hand the ball off. Try to establish a run game that way. Build some passes off of that. It just opens up the playbook so much more. You would give Mahomes such a bigger arsenal of weapons he could use against defenses. And they absolutely refuse to do that, even though so many people have talked about it, even though we've seen when they do it, they're successful and it looks good. It is common in life, not just in football, but in life, in anything, your job, whatever. When things are going well, it's really easy to stop self-evaluating. It's very easy to kind of become stagnant and just not worry and think everything's all right and you got it made, to get comfortable. It's very easy to get comfortable when everything's gone your way, you've had total control. And I think that's what's happened to Kansas City. I think they've just gotten comfortable with the winning, not intentionally, but they've kind of got the same coaching staff over and over, and it's clear that these other teams are starting to figure them out. I think it's really important that they bring in some fresh voices. They need to change and improve the offensive play calling. I'm not saying fire Andy Reid. I'm not saying he's a disaster. I am suggesting maybe we shake up some of the staff and get some, outside opinions in, because it's possible Kansas City's just been too insulated, and because it's worked for them. Why change anything if it's worked? Even last year, they make the Super Bowl with a subpar roster. So I think they felt good going into this year, even though we all knew the roster deficiencies were there. And we were like, oh, well, they'll find a way. And they haven't. They've become one-dimensional. They've become predictable. But on both sides of the ball. After the game, Chris Jones was saying on the third down that Denver was calling out the defensive play. They knew it was coming. I love Spags, but that's unacceptable. Like, you have to do a better job disguising. You have to mix it up more. So if we're being honest about the Chiefs, it's just not their year. It's okay. It happens. They are, at this point, a mediocre to below average team. It's crazy to say that because 3 or 4 weeks ago, they looked like one of the best offenses in the league. But what are you going to believe? The stats or your lying eyes? They've got a quarterback and a head coach that tend to elevate them higher than they deserve. But when those two guys are not at their peak, because I don't think Patrick's been excellent, and I certainly don't think Andy Reid's been excellent, this is kind of what you get. So a lot of people, a lot of Chiefs fans are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Even myself, I was a little guilty of it. The other shoe's not going to drop. You are what you are. The only thing you can do, I'm not saying you can't make the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game. Okay, whatever. I just don't think you're a Super Bowl contender this year. Clearly. I'd be shocked if they won the Super Bowl. I'll play this back if it happens. I'd love to be wrong. You need to evaluate and make some changes because you just don't want to waste any years that Patrick has. So you need to improve the roster for one, because you got a lot of old players that you're paying a lot of money, and you need to get some fresh voices in on the coaching staff because the play calling, particularly offensively, is really just unacceptable for a team with this much talent on it. The Chicago Bears survive the Minnesota Vikings 19-17, and with the Lions losing, Chicago takes the lead of the NFC North. Are they a real contender? Is Chicago legitimate? Can they make a run this year? Because I think they've surprised a lot of people. Ben Johnson's doing a great job, and he's doing what's kind of hard. It's not like they do anything great, but they just find ways to win. And good coaches and good teams grind out these games and grind out victories. They were kind of controlling Minnesota most of the game because J.J. McCarthy is, terrible. And then Minnesota gets into it and takes the lead, and you're like, oh, man, how'd this happen? Somehow Chicago gets into field goal range, makes the kick, wins the game when it looked like they were going to squander it and blow it. I don't even think Caleb's playing great. I think he's like 17th, 18th in most quarterback numbers. I think he's fine, but The offense feels limited to me, even though their numbers look okay. They're bad in most defensive categories, but they're finding ways to win. Here's their rankings. I just want to pull this up. So as you can see, offensively, 4th in total yards, 2nd in rush yards, 8th in points a game, 20th in red zone, not great. But defensively, 27th in yards allowed, 23rd in pass yards, 24th in rush defense, 26th in points allowed a game, 22nd defensive EPA. They're 7-3, but those defensive numbers are horrendous, like absolutely terrible. Offense is better than I thought it would be. They've set themselves up to make a run at the 7 seed. It's probably going to come down to them versus San Francisco. Even with the injuries, I think San Francisco's a better football team. I think they got a better quarterback, a better coach, but you've got to be impressed with what Ben Johnson's doing because he's got the team at 7-3, first time since 2008. They're in the hunt for the playoffs. I do think they're a bit of a mirage because this is who they've beaten. The Dallas Cowboys, the Vegas Raiders, the Commanders, the Saints, the Bengals, the Giants, and the Vikings. 0 wins have come against a team that's going to be in the playoffs. They have not beat a single playoff team in 2025. I think that's where, because they were so bad last year, they're playing a bad schedule. A lot of these teams worse than we expected preseason. That's just where they are. They even though they're 7-3, and I give them props, they haven't played anybody. They played a bunch of teams inferior to them. What are they going to look like when they start facing some stiffer competition? We're going to find out because their upcoming schedule, the Steelers, at the Eagles, at the Packers, the Browns, the Packers, at the 49ers, and Detroit. You get Green Bay twice, you get Philly, you get San Francisco, you get Detroit. The cakewalk is over. So I am impressed with what they've done, but the reason I'm just not jumping up and down talking about them a lot is because I think they're an average team. I'm impressed with what they've done. I'm still not a believer in Caleb Williams. If anything, I think Ben Johnson's just doing a good job managing him and doing what he can around Caleb Williams. With that said, they put themselves in this position. They've got a little room to breathe, but we're about to find out what they're made of because that's a tough stretch coming up. The Steelers, okay, but then at Philly, at Green Bay, back-to-back, those 2 games, I think we'll learn a lot about the Chicago Bears. The Green Bay Packers survive the New York Giants and Jameis Winston 27-20. It was looking rough for a minute. Looked like the Giants might find a way to pull it out. Pretty entertaining game. Even though they won, because I didn't get to do this conversation last week, we're a long way away from week 1 and 2 when Green Bay looked like the best team in the league, right? We are a long way away from that blowout win over Detroit. And things have felt off for a minute. I've mentioned it. People have said, in the comments, people were like, oh, it's the injuries. They'll be fine. I understood that argument, even accepted it. The injuries have mounted at this point. Tucker Kraft's out for the year. Josh Jacobs went out in this game. So I say even with those guys, I don't think it would look, I still think it's been, underwhelming. Is Matt LaFleur flirting with the hot seat? What do we think it would take for him to really be on the hot seat? Miss the playoffs? Then are they going to start having conversations in Green Bay? Because we all kind of think Matt LaFleur is one of the better coaches in the league. Look what he did with Aaron Rodgers. Look what he's done up to this point with Jordan Love. Even those couple games with Malik Willis look great. With that said, it's just something's not right. And LaFleur is supposed to be the offensive guru. He calls the plays. And like I was talking about with Kansas City, the offense is very, very stale. They don't threaten you. They don't scare you. If you're an opposing defensive coordinator preparing for the Packers, is there anything they do that really worries you? Are you sitting up all hours of the night being like, oh my God, how am I going to stop this? Oh my God, the creativity here. No. And maybe Green Bay fans are going to say that's because they don't have all their players. They don't have all their, personnel. Okay, fair, but they got what they got at this point. As I've said, this is kind of the recurring theme of this show. This episode is, an honest come to Jesus meeting about all these teams. We did my team. Okay, go watch me talk about them. I did not pull back any punches. So I'm trying not to be too critical of Green Bay because they won the game, but it's becoming like James Franklin thing where Green Bay has beat all these teams that they're supposed to beat and then lose to teams who are better than them in the playoffs. Okay, that's fine. When you start losing to the teams you're better than, when you lose to the Panthers, when you lose to the Browns, when you're in a shootout against the Giants, that's when people start to ask questions and say, okay, something's going wrong because this shouldn't be happening this often, not with the Packers. Jordan Love was supposed to take another step up this year. I know he's very inconsistent. I know he's a roller coaster player, but part of the coach's job is managing that, especially when you're an offensive guy, when you're supposed to be the quarterback guy. If the Packers miss the playoffs, do we think they would fire Matt LaFleur? Do they think they'd consider it? Because right now, 2026 is going to be the last year of his contract. And I think the Packers have even said they don't like lame duck coaches. You hardly ever see a coach coaching a team on the last year of their contract. That happened with Mike McCarthy and the Cowboys last year. Very rare that happens. So it's either at the end of this year, Matt LaFleur gets some sort of extension or they move on from him. I think they're underperforming greatly. I think the offense looks bland and uninspired, and I put that on Matt LaFleur. But, giant caveat, is there a head coaching candidate out there that you know for sure is an upgrade? Because as rough as it's been sometime offensively this year, as bad as it's looked, the losses to the Panthers, to the Browns, as up and down as it's been, as frustrating as it's been, we've seen this guy get MVP seasons out of Aaron Rodgers. We saw this guy, develop Jordan Love into a legit franchise quarterback, even though it can be rocky at times. If you fire him, you better have an upgrade. This is not me saying I would fire Matt LaFleur. I wouldn't. Not after this year, because I just don't see a candidate out there that I think is better. I'm asking, would the Packers do it? What are the Packers thinking? I don't even know who makes that decision in Green Bay because they don't have ownership. Is it Gutekunst? I honestly don't know. Maybe I should know that. They're more of a patient franchise. So I don't think he's going to be gone this year unless it just completely falls apart down the stretch. But I think it's something to watch because he's walking a tightrope. If he loses a couple more games, he shouldn't. I think then he might end up getting the boot. But if he can kind of manage it and just have an underwhelming season, but beat the teams he should the rest of the way, he'll be okay. But it's something to keep an eye on because it feels off in Green Bay, and you can start to kind of feel the restlessness. Allow me to briefly travel back in time to the Thursday night game where the Patriots took care of business, beat the Jets 27-14. It wasn't as close as the score looks. I want to take a moment just to say, I might be crazy. I think New England's the best team in the AFC. And I don't know if I think it's close right now. If I had to pick one AFC team to just put my stock with, I'm going with the Patriots. Now, I bought into the Patriots preseason. I thought they would make the playoffs. I thought they'd be a wild card. I thought they'd win 10 to 11 games. It's not just the relatively easy schedule, though, because the challenges they've had, they've lived up to it. They beat the Bills. They beat the Bucs. So yes, like when they beat the Jets, I know it's the Jets, but I'm just talking about the way the team looks overall. They are so well-rounded. They are incredibly well coached. I know, shocker. Amazing what a difference a coach makes. Drake Maye, abject disaster. Mike Vrabel, who had the Titans as the 1 seed, he gets in there. Oh, now they're fighting for the 1 seed. Like New England could genuinely be the AFC 1 seed. And their quarterback, he's probably a superstar. It's crazy, but he probably is. He is so poised and calm. He is incredibly accurate. He is always in complete control, and he has excellent vision. I love watching the All-22 of Drake Maye and just watching him get through his progressions and deliver the ball. Like he never double clutches. He never doubts himself. He plays quarterback the way you teach it. It's like if you want to show quarterback tape for a guy basically doing everything you want him to do, doing everything you ask, especially as a second-year player, Drake Maye is checking every single box. Put on top of that, he's like the best deep ball thrower in the league right now. Stephon Diggs is having a career resurgence, which no one saw coming. And it's not like the Patriots have a bunch of guys on the roster that your casual football fan is going to know their name. Like, it's kind of a band of misfits and, in the midst of a rebuild, first year of Vrabel, and they're this good. A lot of it goes to the quarterback. When you've got a good quarterback, and put that aside, not good. When you've got a great quarterback, man, just the pieces start fitting together. And I really thought about this, but after watching, I thought about it after the Thursday night game, but now, particularly after the weekend slate of games, I think New England's the best team in the AFC. I know Denver's got the great defense, but I think Patriots have a good enough defense, and I trust the quarterback. I'm always lean quarterback when it's close. A lot of people are going to say, Tristan, what about the Colts? You got to put some respect on the Colts. They're having a great season. Jonathan Taylor, Daniel Jones. Okay. The problem with Indianapolis, as we saw, is I don't want to say they're one-dimensional, but they're too dependent on the run. We've seen if you can limit Jonathan Taylor, if you can take the run away from the Colts like the Steelers did, Daniel Jones can't carry the team. The Colts, Shane Steichen cannot put the game plan on Daniel Jones and say, go win this football game for us. Vrabel can do that with Drake Maye. They will do that with Drake Maye very often. There was a lot of times where they'd get into bad situations. They'd call kind of shitty plays, first down, second down. Oh, now we're in 3rd and 12, Drake Maye, dot, first down. Oh, touchdown, over the top. No problem. He is just, it's like the game's slowing down for him. He's playing at such a high level. He is a real MVP threat. I thought he wasn't. I was like, he's not. They're not going to give him the MVP. It's going to end up going to Stafford. Now I don't know. It seems like Drake Maye is in good position to just snatch that award, especially if he gets the Patriots as the 1 seed. The Bills, I know how good they look, but the Patriots have already beaten them. They've already beaten the Bucs. So they beat, one of the best teams in the NFC, the Bucs. I think we'd all agree, one of the top teams in the NFC. They've beaten the Bills, one of the top teams in the AFC, the team that's owned their division, for the past however many years. And I think the Patriots are more adaptable than the Colts. I think they have more ways to beat you. New England fans have to be beside themselves because we're past the point of this just being a good story. Like, oh man, yeah, they're better than they should be. They're way ahead of schedule. Good on you, kid. No, this is a team that could win the Super Bowl. I really think that because when Drake Maye plays like this, second-year quarterbacks, we've seen that happen before, with a good, experienced coach, you've got some veteran guys on the roster. I think the sky's the limit, especially in a year like 2025 when there's just no team separating themselves from the pack. Every team has some flaws. Kansas City's out of it, so the AFC's wide open. Even Buffalo up and down, and the Patriots already have proven they, have the recipe to beat them. The NFL is wide open this year. The Super Bowl is wide open. Don't think because it's the Patriots, it's the first year with Vrabel, it's Drake Maye. Don't think because of that they have no chance. Because just my eyes, I think they're the most well-rounded team in the AFC, and I can't wait to see what they do the rest of the way. All right, that's our show for today. Week 11 in the books. Thank you for being with me. I did my best to get through that Chiefs segment. Didn't like it, but hey, when you love someone, hard truths are required. You don't want to watch your friend get drunk and pass out in the alleyway and ruin his life. You want to try to talk to him before that happens. You want to get him back on track. Sometimes it doesn't work. I hope the Chiefs listen. Thank you guys for being here. Subscribe to the channel. Tell your friends about it. I'll be here covering the NFL and bluffing my way through the football season. We are getting super close to playoffs, even college football as well. I'll be covering those games. We getting down to the wire, and it is anyone's season. This is the most wide open I can remember the NFL in many years. Like, there's just not a team really separating themselves. Every team has some issues. It's going to be so much fun. I think the season might come down to which team gets hot at the right time. And we've seen that happen in the NFL. The team can go on a bye, come back, get hot, and just get rolling. Even though they were on no one's radar, this could be one of those seasons because it is for the taking. Can't wait to see how it plays out. I can't wait to discuss it with all of you. Thank you as always. Leave your comments down below. I'd love to talk football with you. And I'll see you next week. Talk about all the games and see where we stand after that. Goodbye.